वी आर ऑल्सो डूइंग अ पॉडकास्ट नेम नो डाउट. पता नहीं यार आगे जाके उसका नाम नो डाउट रहेगा भी या नहीं. So yeah, hey, Giuseppe.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a great pronunciation. Thank you so much for that.
That's so sorry.
It may be wrong, but she wants to.
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe, yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Giuseppe.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
okay.
So yeah, and Tirth bhai, welcome to our podcast.
Yes, which
Thank
is
you.
no doubt. It will let users no doubt or viewers no doubt.
So, yeah.
We are targeting users to have no doubt at the end of the podcast, right?
Yes, partially.
So that's it's a fantastic name, by the way. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
Thanks. It means a lot. So yeah, Giuseppe, can you tell a bit about your journey? How are you as a kid, and how your circumstances led you to this?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. First of all, folks, thank you so much for having me. Here is a fantastic sunny Sunday here in London, UK. I wasn't always here in London. I originally come from Italy, and I spent there the first 25 or 26 years of my life. As a kid, I think I was a classic, the quadratic standard nerd. I was really into computers because of, I think I started with video games. It's kind of like my gateway drug to computer science, because I was looking at even in arcades or at my cousin's house when we went there in the summer. They had this cranky Nintendo, a NES from the 1980s, and I was playing Super Mario, and I was like, oh, how the hell that actually works? How is it possible? I'm using buttons and something on a screen moves. That's so fascinating. And I think that was the first bit of I really want to know how this works, and not only I really want to know how this works, but I also want to be able to make them. And so as soon as I was kind of able to get a card in my public library, I started just trying to find as much literature, because this was the late 90s. I was born in 1990, and I think I wrote my first line of code when I was 9 or 10, and this was because I found a book which was called How to Build Your First Web Page. And
Really?
I never stopped. Yeah. How to build your first web page, and it was this maybe 200 pages book. And yeah, I kind of be more grateful to my local public library for having that book. And I took it. And by the way, I was horrible with deadlines, and I think I kept that book for 3 months. And I was really ashamed of going back to the public library and say, hey folks, I accidentally kept this for 300% of the time that I was allowed. But they were okay with it. Luckily, we didn't have fines for late returns of books. So I started there, and again, I was lucky enough to have a computer at home, because my dad is a teacher in public school, and because we had to prepare some lessons, he had this this 386 or maybe 286, I don't know, but I was trying to spend as much time as possible on that machine when I wasn't playing video games. So I think that's how it started.
I see. So which programming language did you build your first web page in?
Okay, so I think this is a trick question, because the book was focusing a lot on HTML, but HTML, is it a real programming language? No, but I think there were also some elements of JavaScript. I know JavaScript was out maybe in 1995 or 1996, so at that time it was fresh new technology. So I think I started with JavaScript, and then when I had to do stuff on server side, which I think it took me another couple of years before I kind of realized what I was doing, and I kind of realized, oh, so there is some stuff that can actually happen in the user browser, and at that time we only had Internet Explorer, so you can think of like, oh no, okay, and stuff that needs to happen somewhere else. So I took on PHP as my favorite weapon to build backends. And I guess third, before we were talking about you also started with PHP, so I guess PHP was your gateway drug into programming as well.
It was the most simplest language with the lowest learning curve, and you just write a couple of lines. It was interpreted. It just got the output right, and it was just fascinating. We started with PHP, and everything was like boom, super cool. We had C and C++, but that was for graphical designing, the blue screen, and it just didn't give the output of the web. We were not even aware of CGI bin, like that can be used for web page serving. That was way past. So PHP was the only language.
And you know that everybody likes to hate on PHP, but we must not forget that it's probably like the backbone of the internet, because I think like 80% of websites are still WordPress. So like I have a huge respect for PHP.
Yes.
Of course.
So, Tirth, how was your start with computers and coding and all?
So I was in 5th standard, and we had this computer lab, subject. And everyone as a kid used to stand in line just to enter the computer lab. And I was there. My roll number was 21. I was trying to get into the lab, and I saw the computer right in front of me, and I fell in love with it. I was like, I still remember the scenario when there were 21 computers in a computer lab, and the teacher was sitting right there writing in the registry who was sitting on which computer. It was a class of 60, so 3 people on a single computer, and I was fascinated. Like, I can't let that image go out of my mind. I just fell in love with computers. And at that particular time, I knew that I have to do something with it. I'm going to make my career out of it. No other options, no doubts.
So I am the only one. At this age, I am the jumping into computers. You guys were like just in small age jumping onto computers. So very late start for me.
Fascinating right then. Right now you have mobiles, you have so many different devices you work with.
Yes.
At that particular time, definitely. It was the only electronic device that you can control. Apart from TVs, like it was remote, you can change the channel. But this is like, it would give you the flexibility of a creator, of God. That you are writing something and that would give the output, and that sounded like a superpower to me. I think Joseph will think the same.
It's a very similar feeling, because especially when I was building the first web pages or just like scaffolding some websites or something like that, it was like so powerful, because basically between you and like an idea that actually takes life, it's basically you, the keyboard, and that's it. That's everything you need to like actually create stuff. And it was like, especially like the first time when I don't think, well, first of all, I didn't really have internet until I guess maybe 2001 or 2002, something like that. So I was developing for my own sake and my own joy, and you build these like JavaScript animations, and I don't even think that I knew about CSS or like if CSS was a thing back then, but it was just like cool, maybe even to have a very like dumb program that I don't know, there was this JavaScript animation that was following your cursor, and for me that was like, oh damn. And then the next revolution for me was Flash. I don't know if you remember Macromedia Flash, or now Adobe Flash, and now I think it's been retired. ActionScript was so good, and I think when ActionScript 3.0 came out, it had types and it had classes. So like I learned about like object-oriented programming with ActionScript, and honestly the connection between objects that were moving and how you were actually able to make them move with code. and with your intent, it's like that was really exhilarating. I think that there was the moment in which I said, okay, this is my future. Like I don't want to do anything else than this. I mean, I've done a lot of other things in life, but I think that was like foundational years. And I was spending like summers with a friend of mine, like just trying to build the next big Newgrounds game, especially with Adobe Flash. It's cool because you could combine these elements of like visual creativity with like analytical skills and building new worlds in on your desk at home. It was like exhilarating.
I think like ActionScript set the standard. The way we have CC3 right now, it is purely inspired from ActionScript. All the graphs, the animations that we see, the cube matrix that is created, that's all inspired by that. The only limitation I think is like, you cannot install Adobe at that time on all the platforms, and like Fedora or Ubuntu or Linux, BSD, it won't support that. So I think that was the only limitation. It was a great tool though. Back then it was just
no, it was good fun. And also like you only had a few screen resolution to support. Now I think that like a platform like Adobe Flash would be very difficult to expand on or build on. But those times were and also the fact that you didn't have a lot of like rules and best practices. It was like we were exploring, or at least I was exploring a completely new world, and that was like a discovery every day. So yeah, absolutely. And it was so fun because you could just spend time with yourself, but in the meantime you could build something completely new and like give your fantasy, give your imagination an outlet that was really effective, I think.
That's true. Yep. So now like how we started. We just had fun, a lot of fun, and we like to show off.
It was a lot of fun.
I will be honest. We like to show off what we did, and it was alien to everyone else, and they would be like in awe, like, okay, you did this. How did you do this? Did you understand this stuff? And that gave us more inspiration to do that on daily basis.
I remember once that I have an older sister, and basically she was my first beta tester for everything that I did. And sometimes I got, and I didn't have a laptop, so I at those times, and I remember like calling her and just like showing something, and she was like okay. She was like patting me on my head and like with like trying to give me positive, I think, encouragement or like positive reinforcement, because she understood kind of that this was like important to me. But I think sometimes she had I got the same feeling of like a golden retriever that comes back with like a huge branch at home, and like you don't want to disappoint him, so like, oh yeah, you're good, and then you just take this branch with your hands and like disgustingly covered in saliva, and then like the rest of the woods and stuff like that are just like, oh yeah, okay.
It
So
seems
you're
like
good, yeah, good stuff.
You two were like really clear from a very early age that you wanted to go into computers, right?
I think so, yeah.
So
I wouldn't deny that.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I tried to be a rock star first, but then that didn't work. And then, computers were cool.
It would be cool if you would be rock star.
Yeah.
We get the
I don't
vibe
know,
from
it's
you,
such
like,
Yes,
actually,
you get the rock star vibe that you're doing like this, and then we can imagine you doing that on the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a toxic environment, the music industry. So I won't go into details there, but you have to get me really, really drunk to start talking about that.
We can try that when we meet.
Yeah.
When we...
And for sure, I will not say it on record. So you got.
So yeah, I wanted to ask Tirth bhai, like, how did you came around the idea of Attyantik? Like, what led you to Attyantik?
It was
Something like that.
pretty straightforward. Like, I love to do something always in the latest tech, something different, and that would be challenging. I actually learned Backbone JS so that I can replace ActionScript in the front,
Oh, okay.
and that was pretty good. I loved it. But the companies that I was working with, they can't accept the new tech altogether. Like they were very,
Yes,
very,
yes.
resilient about it. Like we can't do this. It is still in beta, and we can't take the risk. It just won't go. And I was like, if it's not new tech, I can't work like this. So I just wanted
I
the
need to
freedom.
start a new thing.
I just wanted the freedom to do anything I want. And I ended up being an entrepreneur because that's how I can do what I want. Else I will be bounded by the rules. So that is how I started with Attyantik. And Attyantik means ultimate. It's a Sanskrit word for Attyantika, which means ultimate. So, I just loved it.
Yes. Yes, you guys are ultimate.
It's actually really fascinating that before this all full recording began, us and
Mr. Giuseppe.
we were just talking about the same thing. Like, he asked us that why do we want to start up, and I just replied that because I don't like to take orders, and he was like, bro, that's the same thing.
Yes. That's a very good thing.
I think.
So, Mr. Giuseppe, so what were your thoughts on that? Like, I don't want to make a new startup and I want to join AWS. So, you weren't thinking like that?
So I actually founded a couple of startups before ending up into the industry, or and as soon as I learned about the startup team at AWS, I decided to try and join because I think I think building a startup, especially at the early stage of your career, I think it gives you so much insight and you get so many lessons that otherwise you wouldn't get. And I think it gives you an understanding of how products work better than somebody that has been an employee for their whole life. And it's okay, I think. So I would definitely recommend, like, it should be like I don't know, some sort of like mandatory training that you do. Like, you try to stand up your business before deciding to work for somebody else. Also, because you understand a bit more about the logic that goes on into like testing a product, creating the product, trying to build a sales channel for your product, which technology was almost never an issue when building a startup. And again, like, shameless plug, I built all of my startups on AWS, and AWS was never the problem, to be honest. The problems that we had were about stakeholders management, or finding the right way to sell this, how are we selling this, who are we selling it to, and like when is the right time to pivot, or like, I mean, if we find out that we don't have a product for ourselves, like we don't have a product market fit. So this is something that I would recommend to anybody. And I joined AWS back in 2019. But I started working with a large enterprise customer, which for me was also something that taught me so much about like the inner workings of businesses. And again, most of the time the technology is not the problem, but it's like the problem is like a combination of like people plus business strategy plus a dash of politics. And stakeholder management, budget as well. So I think that having a startup prepares to have all of those conversations with different type of stakeholders, and to also adjust your communication to the level of the other party that you're talking to. So it's such a training school. But you only realize it after, when you look back at what you've done, when you look back at what you've achieved, and probably learning from your failures, learning from your successes. that's what I think building a startup actually gives you as a human being. So yeah, and my path at AWS wasn't it hasn't been linear at all. So I spent a couple of years doing enterprise solutions architecture, and then I spent a year in Alexa actually to work on the integration of Alexa into cars, which was really, really, really good fun. But then when I learned about the startup team, I thought, okay, this is where I want to spend my time. And I spend my time with amazing founders that I have huge respect for, because especially, in the last couple of years, maybe the last 3 years, building a business from the ground up is such a, it's such a, I don't know how to say, but it's an endeavor. It becomes an integral part of your life. You put everything on the line to make sure that you're building something that hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people can actually use, and essentially being of service. I know sometimes folks see having a business as only making money or squeezing money out of people, but at the end of the day, it's one of the way that we have to solve problems for others, and have a way to make a living. So I think in business is one of the acts of services that you can actually do, and also I have a huge respect for entrepreneurs because they put everything on the line to pursue a vision.
But I think yeah. So I think you did your own startups, and now you're the backbone of other startups and the founders, because the whole AWS, all the DevOps engineering and the architecturing that goes behind is the main juice. I'll tell, programming languages, logic can be replaced, how they're communicating, at what latency they're communicating, and what is the best way, which VPC it would go into, what should be the load balancing. It's very critical. People don't think about it from the very start, but if they just did something right at the right time, they can either save thousands of dollars and can even extend the burnout time which they want in the market, and then they can build logic around it. So I think it's a great, I respect what you do a lot.
Thank you so much.
So, I wanted to explore more on this thing that you are the backbone of startups and you mentor startups. So I wanted to know what kind of startups do we really fund? What's the whole trajectory? Not at just your company, but as a whole humanity. What kind of startups are we promoting?
So that's a very tough question to tackle. I'll do my best. So I think, first of all, I work with early stage. Early stage is probably the most delicate time of a startup. I think there are two very important transitions for a startup. One is the big bang at the beginning, so it's the inception, the idea, the finding your product market fit, trying to find your design partners, maybe going into a beta, and then and at that point triggering all of the growth hack tricks you have. The fundraising, oh my god, the fundraising is such an important bit, and also finding all of the channels, so the channels through which you can actually sell your product, and even designing the personas that you will be pitching to. That's also really important, and such a all of these responsibilities, especially at the beginning, unless you're really well funded because you had an exit before. But even if you are really well funded, all of these responsibilities are falling onto the shoulders of the CEO and the CTO, or the technical, non-technical founder. So it is really important, that synergy between a person who's going to look after the technological strategy in support of the business strategy. That's something that if that alchemy is missing, then it's really difficult that you will be able to be successful. So there are a lot of responsibility that come with that. But going back to your question, which is what do we see as the future of startups? So we are living unprecedented times. we are, I think, we have unlocked such an interesting piece of technology, which is generative AI, the usage of large language models, which are helping us dealing with tasks that normally, a programmer or like a program in itself, we weren't able to do that before. I guess 2022 or maybe a tad before. I remember reading a paper from 2020, and I can't remember exactly when attention is all you need, which is probably like the foundational paper for this came out. But I think that the first applications, like the first meaningful application, we started seeing them in 2022. So there's a lot of things that can be automated now, especially some of the, let's say, human intelligence level tasks that we can now automate, because we have some degree of control over language, and so I think that we will see the responsibilities of software engineers evolving in the future to maybe be able to like orchestrate agentic or agents that are building software for you. So I think we will see a lot of startups that have a very nimble team that are actually able to deliver a lot of value. So I'm hoping that in the future almost everybody will be able to be like a solopreneur or having like this sort of a cooperative or collective of software engineers that now are becoming almost also like artists, and you might be able to have solo projects that are funding your lifestyle, but then you may be able to like work with other in collaborations or like fund partnerships with other businesses. So I think that these are like really interesting times. We've seen that some of the KPIs that we've seen started being tracked is like how much profit you're making per employee. So I think this is going to, first of all, I think it might be traumatic because the landscape of work, it is, I think, set to be changed dramatically. But after that first shock, I think that people will realize that you will have tools to really unlock your creativity, your ambition, as well as an entrepreneur, or making something that is actually the expression of your curiosity, the expression of your even ambition, if you want, or even just like being passionate about solving a problem that you see, and maybe also have a further social impact that you could have as an employee. So I think this is where we head. I mean, this is the kind of naive interpretation that I have, and where I think we are heading. It is going to be, I think, tough, because we will need to readjust to this kind of paradigm, and not necessarily is going to be easy for everyone. So I think that we should be putting in place some sort of like a social safety net, and being prepared of like helping each other while this is actually happening. So, but I think that the role of the entrepreneur will be a central role in the next, I think, 100 years, because it's going to be really central in how we are solving problems for each other, and how we progress as a community of not only entrepreneurs but also human beings. So I'm still, I would say, I'm still cautiously optimistic about this. I mean, there are a lot of scenarios which diverge in dystopia, and but as humanity, we always had those kind of scenarios. So I really want to look on the bright side.
According to what I have read, so like it's a basic sketch or imagination of how the future of tech will look. So like we have this shortcut app on our iPhones, right? So we can automate little things. So I believe that in the future we can just pick up our phones and say, hey Siri, make me an app that does this, and Siri will generate an app.
I was just coming to that same topic, that what are your thoughts on like a new topic came into market, that is vibe coding.
Oh, vibe
So-
coding.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we're kind of democratizing the tools for building software. I think I use a lot of code assistance, because my job is also to help my customers to build proof of concept and stuff like that. And I don't know, what's your take on, like, are you using code assistance at the moment? Do you vibe code as well?
I do whiteboard. Like, I have to agree to that. I do whiteboard a lot.
Of course.
It is a lot of time saving. And what I usually figure is, if there is a repetitive task, if I have to create similar APIs multiple times, I would create one good API. I would give that reference, and I would ask the laborious work to the whiteboarding platforms like the Cursor IDE, and it just makes life easier. I can focus on what actually needs to get done. And then I will just spend half an hour to proof check everything, whether what it wrote does actually make sense, or it just injected anything that it wants. And then I would focus on the test cases. But what happened with vibe coding is it made the programming bit easier and fun again. Like, it can be sometimes very lengthy. You have to do the same task again and again. But now you can do the task, you can give that reference, and you can focus on the next thing that comes to your mind. So I think it's fun. It has to be used consciously. Again, you cannot just tell it to do stuff and then blank out or do and rely 100% on it. But you have to be conscious what you're doing with it.
Yeah, and then I still think that you will need to work really hard on the core parts of the problem, because I think what vibe coding is taking away is first of all, like, that blank canvas problem. Like, when you are approaching something new and like you have no framework, you have no decisive direction where you want to go, so you can explore multiple options at the same time. So I think it will get you 80% of the way there, or at least, like, this is my experience. But the last 20%, which is where you're spending 80% of the time, is going to be still. It's really, you really need somebody who understands the fundamentals of computer science. So I think these are still really relevant, because maybe you're not. You don't necessarily need to understand how a pointer works, or like how to manage memory and stuff like that. Like, you can get really quickly there. But then I think that managing I don't know, stuff like how am I managing my my code so that every change that I make is actually auditable, or that I can revert to a previous state that I was actually working. And now, what are the best architectural patterns that will help me to save money in the end, or like stay safe and secure, and making sure that like my credentials or my security tokens are not leaked out, because I could make much of a disaster if that kind of happens. I've seen some horror stories on Reddit, unfortunately, of solopreneurs that were building maybe even building in public, not realizing that while they were sharing their screen, there was like such an important information, or like confidential information that was coming out, so they got hacked. I don't know, 5 days after, or 2 days after, and they came back to Reddit and say, damn, this happened, and now like what can I do? Or like, for example, my code assistant has gotten to a point where the code was like so complex to maintain, or like I basically ended up in a loop of like going from one bug to another, and my code assistant wasn't really able to help me. And because I do not know the fundamentals, I got into this mess, and now I don't know how to get out of it. So that's I think still a tangible risk. There are people, including Mark Zuckerberg, saying in 18 months all of the code will be written by AI. I'm still a little bit skeptical about it.
I don't agree that it's difficult. See, it's gonna be there. It's not gonna reach that point. for now, I don't think it is there yet. And even if it will be there, there is no one to validate what it's doing in the background. So we would need human intervention. And I would say, like, most experienced developer who has written code in Notepad++ or without any auto completion tools would be highest valued at that time, because they exactly know what is going through it. So, vibe coding is good if you know what you're doing, or you have been through that tough process of learning what you have done. But if you are doing it without learning, without knowing the programming language, just for doing it quickly, I would not go in that direction for anyone.
But again, I think vibe coding could be the, for me, as we were saying, like, my gateway drug into programming was video game. But I think that, vibe coding could be such a more popular and such more of an accessible gateway drug, if you will, into like computer science and into helping people like getting passionate about it. And I think over time this will help people like maybe even learning the fundamentals, and I think it could also be used as a learning tool. Although, please be very wary when you're like attaching your credit card or like when you're sharing your API keys or stuff like that, because that's going to potentially like set you back maybe thousands of dollars. And mistakes, especially at scale, are really expensive. So I just be wary about that. Try to, like, if you're new into vibe coding, try to first have use it as a learning tool until you're actually confident, and maybe like go to your friendly developer, or neighborhood developer, and say, hey, look, can you help me out in understanding a bit more about this? We're all nerds. We are super friendly when people come to us with a piece of code and say, hey, can you help me out troubleshoot this? Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, if the community becomes like larger, there's a benefit for everybody, right? Because you've seen like the pace at which we are releasing new tools. Especially, now I've always been a fan of open source projects. I've always been a fan of open source. I've done a lot of open source in my life as well. Every time I can, I try to open source it, because this really helps democratizing access to technology, and fundamentally shortens the path to solving issues and problems that we have every day. So I think that's an important bit, and I think that vibe code is going to help us. At the beginning, probably we will see a lot of crappy projects out there that are not secure and not meant to scale and stuff like that, and that's okay. I think that's physiological. But once we understand exactly what are we doing with vibe coding, and we understand that this is a great learning tool and it's a way for us to getting closer to building new stuff, that's where like we will reach the optimum, and we can actually start building on.
I also think, like, when you're bootstrapping a new project, I think vibe coding will be very effective. Like, you don't have to do any serious stuff, but you can just ask, like, okay, do this, set up TS-lint, set up unit testing for me, do this, and you can vibe code for that part. And then actually when it is set up a bit, then you can start adding more value to it with your, what's in your head, what's your IP, and you can work through it. So I think that is a good scenario for vibe coding. But again, when you get stuck, you can't rely on vibe coding. You have to understand what it did. That is my only thing. Yeah, for now.
Yeah. No, so I ended up using Amazon Q Developer a lot. And I think that in these last 2 years, it's been the way that these tools are helping me is evolving really, really fast. Again, I'm still not at a point where I trust them to execute stuff on my machine alone. So because I know something can always go wrong. But if you're an experienced user, yes, vibe coding is giving you such a boost to get you to the initial 80% that is, it can become also sort of an addiction, because now, like, every time I'm not spending, like, telling a chatbot to do something, it feels like I'm slacking away, and I could be doing more. So, like, also this is like a word of caution, because you might end up in being in overproductive mode. So, like, take it easy.
I think that I'm overproductive, like. True.
Tirth bhai, like, as the founder of Attyantik, and like you manage all the stuff, so do you use AI tools in Attyantik, and what are some work practices and work culture at Attyantik that really boosts the productivity?
So there's two important things to understand. As a business and then in IT services, you cannot survive without AI tools now. If you're not doing it,
Yes.
somebody else would be doing it to reduce the time and cost. So you cannot avoid it. What you can do is, I would say the right term is AI augmented programming. So that is what we should do. Like, you are programming with the help of AI tools. Okay, and just to reduce the part that we discussed, like, we are reducing that part. But again, you ask the same specific question, understanding what is happening and how you would, do it even better. The another shift that we are also observing is, I am a PHP lover. Just started with PHP, but now there are two things in the world right now. With the help of AI, there is no learning curve for difficult languages or compiled languages. So you can we started with PHP because it was easy, and it is, to deliver faster. And people don't start usually with tough languages as their career option. So now with AI tools, that easy part has been removed. So the demand of the compiled languages is going to increase a lot, because now you only have to choose slow and interpreted languages or compiled and fast languages. Which do you want to choose? And the answer is pretty clear. So there is going to be a shift. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to make sure that whatever we do is, first of all, can be compiled in a way. Okay, not compiled, then at least it could be fast enough, memory efficient. So I think that is how we proceed with most of the projects, because this shift is going to happen. And it pains me to say, but interpreted languages are going to have a bit of setback over here with AI. What do you think, Joseph? Like, is there a different thought that goes through your mind regarding the same?
I'm hoping that the way that we can express concept to machines will be more and more human friendly. So I'm thinking that maybe languages like Python or JavaScript that are really easy to pick up. Sorry, I shouldn't be that condescending, but like they're easier to pick up. Like, you don't have to maybe think of where am I allocating this bit of memory, like what am I doing with it, am I cleaning up all of the stuff, like am I not like leaking memory, like all of the stuff is kind of taken away from you. And Python I think looks like the friendliest of all of the languages once you understand that you have to use tabs or spaces to the white spacing is part of the sentence, what the hell. But I mean that's the one that resembles more like human language. So I'm hoping that we will have like this intermediate stage in which we can write programming language that is very similar to our natural language, but it will be subsequently compiled towards the technology you mentioned. So I don't know, Rust or Go or even like the good old C++ and C. So I think I'm hoping that interpreted languages or like non-type languages and anything that is like closer to human natural language will be still relevant. We just need to, I would say, find the right recipe to make sure that the intent that is written as an interpreted language and as like an easier language will be picked up correctly as we progress towards like the machine language. So I still think it's really worthy to learn these languages because I think they're like a gentle introduction. And I think, you know, if PHP wasn't there and I had to start with C or C++, because I picked up C or C++ later in my quote-unquote programming career, mainly because I knew they were important, but I could kind of achieve the same results with PHP or with ActionScript or with JavaScript. I didn't really care about like performance or like type safety or like security, because almost all the stuff that I was doing was like for my own fun until it actually turned into a job. So I think they're easier to pick up. It's easy to get into that mindset, and then yes, as you say, you can build on those foundations to actually go towards compiled statically typed languages that are more like memory safe or whatever, like all of the good things, all of the good things that are there.
The reason why I'm more inclined towards the compiled languages is because I think that with all the involvement of AI and the way the fast code that is being written right now, what will become a concern is the execution cost, the resources it is costing. And we all wanted a green planet from the very start. People are moving towards sustainability, low carbon emission. And honestly, like, I love PHP, Python, JavaScript. I love them. But they are not carbon, they have a large carbon footprint. And when you go and look towards Rust, Golang, Ziglang, or even Erlang, they have low carbon footprint, achieving a similar result. So if we remove the parameter of just the ease of understanding the language, I think people will start moving towards that particular point. And even the execution of such application would cost less. It will be in later future. I'm not saying that it is going to be tomorrow or next year, but I think the graph or the balance would shift in that particular area later on. So many people are still trying to figure out what to do, what not to do. If they're starting their career, they wanted to know, like, should we go with this? Should we not go with this? But this is my personal thought. Like, the balance of the overall, would be shifted toward the compiled languages, which are faster, low carbon emission, and sustainable. And I think most enterprises, they like to sell themselves or represent themselves as sustainable and low carbon footprint enterprises, right? So I think that is where the opportunities will rise a lot for everyone.
This is such an interesting take. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, like we can according to the data that we have of the past that led us to present, I think that's a perfect analogy that we can think that green coding may be a future. Like in future, then there can be services like we do green coding. Like that's actually something that we can look up.
There will be a group of people who would always say that, even if you're doing it faster, we don't need faster. Like group of people, I'm not saying everyone, but there will be a group of people like, we need something that can protect the planet. We don't want heavy execution, just burning out the oil all the time. We need something that is more sustainable for a longer time. So there will be always that group of people.
So like, let's say there is a boy, 20-year-old boy, who wants to go into tech. He wants to do something around tech, his own thing. So what are some potential things like this green coding thing or some other stuff that he can do in order to make it into the world?
If I have to say, I would first say like he should understand DevOps, like when he's deploying that, how he should deploy it, where he should deploy it. I think AWS even is now more conscious providing you, green executed EC2 instances, whether it is in good environment or it is solar powered or not. So they need to first learn how to execute it, and then they can worry about the problem how to efficiently execute it. So one of the thing is first get it started and then optimize it later on. So I think that works the best for everyone. Don't forget to optimize it, but optimize it later on. Don't start with the optimization right away. You won't reach a point where it needs to be executed.
On my side, my my recommendation is not necessarily technical. I think it would be try to find your passion. Try to find a problem that you're really passionate about, something that you really want to solve, and focus on that. The technology will help you solve that, and use the technology as a mean to an end. Because again, if you are thinking about, or if you're spending time on a problem that is really at the core, maybe of your identity, maybe your it's something that you are actually super passionate about, then you will naturally want to learn more about the technologies that will help you in tackling that problem, and be creative. Like, take the time to be creative about it. Work backwards from that problem until it's actually solved, and maybe one way of solving it is joining a company that is focusing on that problem, or bringing your entrepreneurial ambition into the world and solving the problem. As you were saying, I worked as a mentor as Kickstart Global, which is a student / entrepreneur mentorship effort that we have here in the UK, and I had the pleasure to meet such brilliant, bright minds that are focusing on very specific problem, and they are absolutely passionate about them, because I don't know, there's something in them that tells them, hey, you need to keep working on this until it's done, because this is going to help so many people. So like, try to find that. For me, that thing was like, I really want to help people in bringing their entrepreneurship into the world, and I think that my role at AWS is helping me doing that. I'm super lucky that such a huge business like Amazon is incentivizing us in doing that is helping out entrepreneurs all over the world, building amazing technology and helping people solving this kind of problem. So absolutely try to focus on that. The technology needs will come, and luckily you have tools like generative AI that will help flattening that learning curve.
Yeah. And I think to add more to that, I particularly think like there's still a problem. The problem is just like you and me, when we were starting our careers, we were going through the phases. There was very less distraction around the world. We didn't had the social media, we didn't had the global competition, and we didn't compare ourselves with everybody else. We just compared us with what we were yesterday, and that added a lot of value. I think the most important problem that I think right now is people are confused. If they want to be passionate about something, they're looking for others' validation, whether this passion is good or not. And the best advice, as Joseph said, like, you have to be passionate, but you have to figure out that what it would be without other people thinking about it. Does it drive from your inner self? If it does, then that's your answer. If you're looking for validation from other, see, I'm doing this, do you think this is cool, or will this slay? Then that's the red flag. You don't do that. So
yeah, I think there's a thing we say at Amazon, which I really I married as one of my philosophy, that we are willing to be misunderstood for a long period of time, and I think that's one of the core lessons that I've learned at Amazon, which is, you have a vision, you have done your homework, you have spent the time to strategize about it. You keep your head down, you work on it, and it will bring results.
Yeah,
for sure. So I completely second that. Like, try to cut out the noise, try to cut out what is distracting you. In this age, it's really difficult. But if you manage to hone that skill, I think there is very little in the world that can prevent you from having success. again, a bit condescending because there are a lot of like boundary conditions around that. But I would say that if you're really able to find what you're passionate about, and you spend the time, you are able to actually spend the time on that, that will be
Sure.
the easiest step in next step in your career.
Yep, agree.
Okay, so beyond your working life, if you want to add just one thing that it would be great if that would be in my current working life, so what would be that thing?
Like something that you'd like to add to
Your current working life,
yeah.
the thing you still don't have it.
I think I have it all. I have the right tools with me. I know what to do, what I'm going to do, and I just don't need. If something comes along, if it it suits me, I'm gonna adapt it. It doesn't suit me, I'm not gonna adapt it. But I'm pretty content with what I have. The tools, the programming. I still program till 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning, and it just feels so much satisfaction. Like, okay, I'm so satisfied with it. So I have to change anything, or if I have to bring something in, I don't think I need anything, or I don't want to change anything. I'm just living the dream, I would say.
That's very mentally healthy. Like
Yes.
Yeah. Being the quadratic, the average quadratic representative of the Western world in this call, I would say no. I don't have enough. Actually, what I would like to do is do more of this, like being able to, maybe going into universities and getting in touch with students, helping them out, understanding like what the next step is for them, like where they can actually make a difference, and doing actually more of like evangelizing around the value of being an entrepreneur, or the value of solving problems for our society. So I'd like to do more of this. I'm working on it. I'm not just waiting for it to happen, but I'm proactively. We do have a show on Twitch that we do almost every summer, and where we are actually trying to bring in founders from all over the world to tell their story, and to basically inspire other entrepreneurs in doing what they've done. So that is one big part of my interest in terms of my working life. What I want to add from my working life. So I guess being able to speak with students and at universities, and evangelizing the importance of being an entrepreneur. Those two things I'd like to add it on top of my job.
Nice. Whoa, that's pretty cool.
and that's a great note to conclude on. So
Yes, I think so. The time is over for Mr. Giuseppe.
like no, it's not the time is over, but the audience retention rate is so small. If you record over this,
No, but it was
they
nice.
just started,
Talking about what people think and what the driving force should be. I think those are important factors right now. And
Yes.
if nobody's going to talk about it, like, you won't create the foundation of the passion of the entrepreneurship that is required for any project or a life-changing event. More talks like this are required.
that's what we are trying to do right here.
Yes.
So by the way, if you of course this was the first episode of No Doubt.
Thank you so much.
Thank
No
you.
worries. I mean, I try to be, there at the earliest stage possible, so that I can help there. And again, Attyantik and Shiva, thank you so much for having me. Tirth, it was such a pleasure to get to know you better. And all the best for No Doubt.
Thank you. It was actually really nice, and thankful to you for coming here as our first guest. So that's pretty awesome.
All the
Thank
best.
you
So-
both. Like, if continue doing this, I think you're going to inspire a lot of people, and you're going to convey the right message to the right audience. So don't stop.
Thank
There's no doubt it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, no
Thank
doubt,
you,
no doubt, no
Thank
doubt.
you so much.
Tirth bhai actually made it like he was unavailable till the last minute, and he was like, "Okay, I'm here. Don't worry, we'll do this thing.
Yes.
I'll be coming." So yeah,
We were.
great. Thank you to both of you
Yes. Thank you so
for,
much.
for making this happen. Thank you very much.
Bye
Have a good
everyone.
one.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.